Hello, my name is Jessica. In this short documentary, I will be discussing the expansion of liability for foodborne illness from negligence to breach of warranty. What is a foodborne illness? According to the Minnesota Department of Health, foodborne illnesses are caused by consuming contaminated foods that have harmful bacteria or pathogens. There have been many different illness outbreaks dating back to 323 BC when it was determined that Alexander the Great had died from an intestine bug. This is what we now know as typhoid fever, a bacterial infection caused by salmonella. The first known English food law that was passed occurred in 1202. This was because King John of England proclaimed that the courts had decided to prohibit adulteration of bread with ingredients such as peas or beans. This eventually led to the Massachusetts Act against selling unwholesome provisions in 1785, which is believed to be the first U.S. food safety law. It has been reported by the research in 1692, a batch of rye bread that contained harmful toxins was distributed in Salem. This occurrence is likely what caused the witch trials due to the civilians falling ill. They believed it was witchcraft. A while after, in 1862, President Abraham Lincoln formed the USDA and appointed a chemist by the name of Charles Wetherill to lead this department. Following that, in 1906, they formed the FDA. Around 1890, President Benjamin Harris signed a law that was the first of its kind and required inspection of meat products before distribution. Following this, an author by the name of Upton Sinclair published an eye-opening novel titled The Jungle in 1905. This novel was to warn the public of the filthy conditions described in nauseating detail and the threat that they posed on the meat consumers. It was at this time that Sinclair decided to urge President Theodore Roosevelt to require federal inspections in meat packing houses. To build on the significance of the FDA forming in 1906, they passed the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Federal Meal Inspection Act. These were in addition to the first set of food laws that were passed. Fast forward to 1957 when Congress passed an act that mandated the inspection of poultry products that were going to be consumed. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed the Consumer Bill of Rights, which states that the consumers have a right to safety, to be informed, and to choose and be heard. In specific, these rights were directed to the Food Safety Acts and amendments that were yet to come. The Fair Packing and Labeling Act was passed in 1967. This act required numerous details regarding the name, location of the manufacturer, distributor, and the net quantity of the contents. In 1970, the CDC began keeping record of outbreaks and deaths related to foodborne illnesses in the U.S. The first major recall took place in 1973 when more than 75 million cans of mushrooms were removed from the shelves across the U.S. The FSQS was formed in 1977 to perform meat and poultry grading and inspection. Later in 1981, it was renamed the FSIS. In 2011, the Food Safety Modernization Act was signed into law. This enabled the FDA to focus on safety measures rather than be reactive once an outbreak occurs. Louis Brisbois states that foodborne illness litigation generally involves breach of warranty, negligence, and product liability claims. A company must exercise reasonable care under the rules of negligence. This means establishments, like restaurants and manufacturers, have a responsibility to make sure that their products are safe for consumption. Commercial laws claim that there are numerous requirements that are designed to ensure that food suppliers reduce the sale of contaminated goods. These are referred to as implied warranties. A breach of warranty occurs when contaminated foods are sold or served to the public. To establish product liability, it is necessary to show the distributor, manufacturer, or supplier was to blame for the outbreak, as they were not sufficiently cautious. After researching the history of this topic and seeing the evolution, I strongly believe that the changes have had a positive impact on liability in the food industry and hospitality. This is because consumers will have peace of mind knowing that their foods must go through all of these inspections to ensure safe consumption. It is reassuring to know that the people handling the food must go through extensive training to ensure that the food is safe and that they're qualified to handle said food. While the chances of getting sick aren't entirely alleviated, it is nice to know that the risk of foodborne illness outbreak is lowered. And here is my works cited page. Thank you for watching.